At 70, Bruce Willis, the man who once saved the world on screen, can no longer save himself from a disease that steals his words, his memories, and slowly, his identity. For years, he was the face of courage and unbreakable will. But behind the silence, there's a truth that breaks even the toughest hearts. What really happened to the man the world once called Hollywood's toughest hero? What you're about to hear will change the way you remember Bruce Willis forever. Before the silence, there was the roar, the sound of explosions, gunfire, and applause that followed Bruce Willis everywhere he went. Born in 1955 in West Germany and raised in New Jersey, Willis wasn't supposed to be a Hollywood legend. He was a blue-collar kid with a stutter, the kind of boy who found confidence only when he stepped onto a stage. Acting, for him, wasn't fame, it was freedom. By the mid-1980s, that same kid had transformed into one of America's most beloved faces. Moonlighting made him a television heartthrob, and in 1988, Die Hard turned him into an icon.
And you're sitting in
John
the room.
McClane, the barefoot
It's
cop
just
who
you,
fought terrorists with grit
all your
and
cousins.
sarcasm, became a symbol of the everyday man turned hero. For over 3 decades, Bruce Willis ruled the screen. From Pulp Fiction to The Sixth Sense, from Armageddon to Looper, he was the bridge between old-school masculinity and modern vulnerability. He was tough, but human, confident yet charmingly flawed. Behind the cameras, he was a devoted father of 5 daughters, a man who loved jazz, wine, and quiet family moments away from the chaos of Hollywood. To fans, he was unbreakable. To friends, he was unstoppable. But in 2022, that illusion of strength, of invincibility, began to crumble. It started with whispers on set, forgotten lines, unusual pauses, confusion in the middle of filming. At first, people thought he was just tired or distracted. No one wanted to believe that the hero of Die Hard was slowly losing his words. And then came the announcement, one that no one in Hollywood was prepared for. The news broke in March 2022. Bruce Willis was stepping away from acting due to aphasia, a brain disorder that affects a person's ability to communicate. For a man whose entire life was built on voice, timing, and expression, it felt like the cruelest twist of fate. At first, Hollywood went silent. Fans flooded social media with disbelief. How could John McClane, the man who never gave up, lose his words? But those close to him had seen the signs long before. On film sets, Bruce would sometimes stare blankly at his script, unable to recall lines he had rehearsed moments before. His body was there, but the spark that made Bruce Willis was slipping away. Crew members whispered. Directors started shortening his scenes. In some films, they used earpieces to feed him lines in real time. Others quietly rewrote scripts to reduce his dialogue. It wasn't ego or laziness. It was something deeper, something invisible, stealing his clarity day by day. Then, in 2023, came the second blow. His family, in a rare, united statement signed by ex-wife Demi Moore and current wife Emma Hemming Willis, revealed that Bruce's condition had progressed. It was no longer just aphasia. Doctors had diagnosed him with frontotemporal dementia, FTD, a rare and degenerative brain disease that not only affects speech but personality, memory, and behavior. The world was stunned. Demi, Emma, and his daughter stood together in what the media called Hollywood's most beautiful act of unity. 2 women who had once shared his love were now sharing his pain, raising awareness, protecting his dignity, and building a cocoon of silence around him. But inside that silence, the real battle was happening. Friends said Bruce began to withdraw from the world. The man who once filled every room with jokes and music now spoke only in fragments. His wife described it as learning to love differently, holding his hand not to talk, but simply to be there. And yet, even in decline, there were moments that reminded people of who he was. When his daughter Rumor had her baby, she said her father's eyes lit up for a moment, as if he still knew. For a brief second, Hollywood...
We need an angel of justice.
Pause button. For the first time in his life, Bruce Willis faced a battle he couldn't win. Not with strength, not with humor, not even with love. The man who once defeated villains, asteroids, and ghosts on screen was now fighting an enemy inside his own mind. And in that fight, silence became his greatest companion. What the world didn't see was how long Bruce had been fighting. Not just the disease, but the fear of losing himself. According to crew members from his last few films, the decline had begun years earlier. He would forget entire scenes, stare into space between takes, and sometimes ask, "Why are we here?" People thought it was exhaustion, or maybe age, but those closest to him knew something inside him was changing. One source from a 2020 set revealed that Bruce's lines were being fed through an earpiece. At times, body doubles were used for complex dialogue shots. He wasn't the same man who once improvised yippee-ki-yay with a smirk. But rather than expose his struggle, the people around him protected him, out of respect and out of love. When the diagnosis was made public, his family finally confirmed what insiders had kept silent for years. They weren't hiding the truth. They were giving him time to finish his last roles, to say goodbye on his own terms. Behind closed doors, his home in Los Angeles became a sanctuary. Emma Hemming Willis, his wife, turned from spouse to full-time caretaker. "We live in the moment," she said in an emotional interview. "I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but today, he's here. And that's enough." Demi Moore, his ex-wife, never left his side. They had divorced decades earlier, but now she was back, not as a lover, but as family. Their daughters, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah, shared heartbreaking updates, describing how their father sometimes struggled to recognize them, yet still smiled when hearing old jazz records he used to play.
And I guess
then came the
today
most
is Bruce
touching
Willis,
detail, one that broke the
movie
internet.
star,
For
and
Bruce's 68th birthday, his entire family gathered in one room. They sang, laughed, cried, and filmed him blowing out candles. His smile was soft, distant, but real. That short video, just 30 seconds long, became a global symbol of love, fragility, and acceptance. Behind the once invincible action hero was a man who had lost his words, but not his soul. In his silence, he had become something even greater. A reminder that strength isn't just in fighting, it's in letting go with grace. When the truth finally came out, Hollywood stopped pretending to be strong. Actors who had once fought beside Bruce on screen now found themselves fighting back tears in real life. John Travolta, his co-star from Pulp Fiction and Look Who's Talking, posted a photo of the two of them writing, "Bruce and I shared some of the best moments of my life. I love you, my brother." Sylvester Stallone, the ultimate action rival and friend, confessed, "It's heartbreaking. Bruce is going through something none of us could ever imagine." From Dwayne Johnson to Kevin Smith, tributes poured in, not the kind that come after someone is gone, but the kind given while there's still time to say thank you. Fans turned social media into a living memorial. Hashtags like "Jew, Yippee, Kiye Forever" and Team Bruce spread across millions of posts. For once, the internet wasn't cruel. It was tender, united in grief and admiration for a man who had defined their childhoods and Friday nights. In the months that followed, his story sparked a deeper conversation. Journalists began asking, how many actors are silently struggling behind the camera? The revelation of Bruce's illness forced Hollywood to confront the cost of its obsession with productivity, the endless cycle of filming, fame, and fatigue. Meanwhile, Emma Hemming Willis became a voice for caregivers worldwide. She spoke openly about the emotional exhaustion of watching the person you love fade, one memory at a time. "I wish people understood that dementia isn't just about forgetting," she said. "It's about learning how to love differently, again and again." Through her words, Bruce's legacy transformed. He was no longer just the man who saved hostages and stopped asteroids. He became the face of human vulnerability, a living reminder that even the strongest heroes can fall, and that's what makes them real. Film retrospectives began to appear. Marathons of Die Hard, documentaries revisiting his early TV days, essays titled "The Last Movie Star Who Was Truly Human." The outpouring wasn't about pity, it was about gratitude, for the laughter, the courage, and the timeless line that still echoes, "Yippee-ki-yay." For once, Hollywood didn't move on. It paused. It listened. And in that pause, that moment of silence, Bruce Willis became eternal. After all the lights fade and the cameras stop rolling, what remains of a hero? For Bruce Willis, it isn't the explosions, the box office numbers, or the one-liners that made him immortal. It's the way he faced
Dream?
silence.
Let's go.
But never of dignity. He once played men who refused to die, who fought against impossible odds. And now, in the real world, he fights a battle that has no villains, no rescue plan, no victory speech. Just love and time, slipping away like film reels at the end of a movie. Maybe that's the ultimate lesson Bruce leaves behind, that even heroes are human, and that there's beauty in letting the world see you fall, and still call it grace. In the end, Die Hard wasn't just a film, it was a metaphor. He was always fighting, always surviving, even when the enemy was invisible. And as fans, we're left with a question that lingers long after the credits roll. When the hero loses his voice, who will speak for him?